Right, CJ, you got this?
On here. No, you're hosting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, we're at halftime where everyone's freezing their butts off.
Yeah. Was it cold up there or something?
I forget where this is taking place, but it's probably in like Calgary or something, which is always cold, even in the summer.
They don't play Canadian football indoors?
No.
No? Oh.
No.
Okay.
Just saying.
Well, all right. Are we doing this thing? Am I starting?
I mean, the level of enthusiasm is through the roof, so I feel like we should do it.
I'm very enthusiastic. I can compensate for all of y'all.
It's in Edmonton, which is cold. You've been to Edmonton, haven't you? I thought you've been to Edmonton.
Me? No.
Yeah. Okay. It's cold.
I'm sure that it is. I try to stay on the eastern side of Canada.
It's the nicer side.
Or central Canada. Toronto.
Yeah, sure.
Toronto.
See, there you go. There it is again. Every now and then you guys disappoint me in your Americanness.
Yeah?
I like Canada. I've been to Toronto.
That's right. Same thing, right?
You've been to Halifax.
I went to the History Museum in Montreal.
Montreal's good. That's good.
Quebec City.
Quebec City that's impressive. Great. That's one of those big places that people don't really usually go to.
Yeah.
They had this video presentation that's like on the walls. They project it all around you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great part in it where they start talking about like riots and racial tensions in the 60s and 70s. And they just completely, and me and my friend noticed this like right away as the first thing we talked about as we walked out. It was like, they just sort of washed over it. They're like, and then it was better.
And then everything was okay.
And then the 80s happened. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean it was better?
Except no, it wasn't better.
They had some like one sentence wrap up on the situation. Like tensions were high.
And then there was racism.
Yeah.
Then everything fixed itself. Hello and welcome to episode 629 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, November 27th, 2018. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Yo, yo, yo.
And guesting this week, the host of Chive Gaming, Mr. Jeff Solomon. Hello.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me once again. Very excited.
I mean, you might have heard of the Chive, but more importantly, he was on our Spider-Man spoiler cast. That's probably where you know him from.
That's my top billing for sure.
Yeah. Which was released on the regular feed to all of our listeners last Thursday.
Yes.
Coincidentally, was the real Thanksgiving.
Nope.
American Thanksgiving.
Nope.
Surely there's a Wikipedia page that would settle this.
Yeah, because Wikipedia is never wrong.
Oh, okay. So it says American Thanksgiving was first then.
Some kind of internet poll, I think, needs to happen because I think we all know who would win. Yeah.
Well, there are more Americans than Canadians. But as we've seen, and now you're a voting people too, as of the last midterms. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
2 years too late. Congratulations.
So just to talk
Don't blame me. I voted for Kudos.
Yes.
To talk between us Americans for a second here. Jeff, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was nice. I go back home to New Jersey every year, mostly every year. And I get to see the babies get a little bit taller and the old people get a little bit balder. And I'm starting to fit in with that crowd a little more. So, plus,
you didn't visit Greg this Thanksgiving at all.
No,
and,
I didn't bring my passport this time.
Okay,
but maybe for a Canadian Thanksgiving in the future.
Hey, come on up. We'll have turkey and donaires.
Yeah. Do you do turkey, Jeff, or do you do turkey and ham? Like, what's your spread like?
Well, I come from a Jewish background, so we don't tend to have a lot of ham on our dinner plates.
No. Okay.
We have turkey. Also, one of my cousins is very allergic to gluten now, so now everything's gluten free too, which is a bummer. But potatoes are all right. My favorite
flavor is gluten.
Yeah. We had a bottle of it to pour on ourselves.
There you go.
My favorite Thanksgiving tradition is my aunt insisting that no one have their phone and no one watch football, and then just minute by minute watching that fall apart.
Yeah.
It always starts that way. And then by, 4 o'clock, there's a football game on and 2 cell phones out, and everyone just like slowly reaches, and she gives up every year. But it's funny. It's like the tradition is to disrespect her in a way.
Speaking of football, the Grey Cup is on right now, and it's halftime, and there are literally people ice skating on the stage.
Whoa.
It's like ice capades, I guess. They're all up there skating.
Who's the
dancers
halftime
have
show?
skates on. I don't know. I don't recognize her, so which doesn't mean much. That means
she's
she
Canadian.
Yeah, that means she rose to popularity sometime between now and 1989. So
Not the Bare Naked Ladies. Clearly.
it's not the Bare Naked Ladies or Moxie Früvous. So I'm lost.
Brian Adams?
I wish.
Alanis Morissette?
Nope, that's definitely not her.
I think that's all. Oh, Crash Test Dummies. Yeah.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Right. No. Actually, it could be her. I don't know what she looks like.
She's like petite brunette. Talks about
this lady is petite and brunette.
Could be her then.
It could be her.
Yeah. This year for Thanksgiving, we stayed in Atlanta. Normally, I go
to the fam,
either Chicago or down to Savannah to see Adrian's family. But this year, we stayed in Atlanta instead, and it was great.
So did you have family come visit you, or was it just like, no, this is
just
CJ and Adrian's family Thanksgiving?
Just us, and this is the first time we've had that since.
That's important.
I think since Charlotte was born. When Charlotte was born, her birthday's in November, so we didn't travel that year. But yeah, this is the first time we've had just Thanksgiving here, and it was great. You know, a lot of places allow you to order turkey and have it delivered.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Mm-hmm.
So there's this great deli in Atlanta called Alon's, and we had basically their Thanksgiving dinner for 4 delivered the day before.
But there are only 2.5 of you.
And then we heated it up, and then we have all these leftovers. It was great. So I was eating turkey, stuffing, mac and cheese, and garlic mashed potatoes like all weekend. It was fantastic.
See, I don't know. I think you miss out on something not creating the meal yourself, though.
Yeah, but if we had created
it's a lot of work.
Let's be real. If we had created the meal ourselves, it would have been a disaster.
No, it wouldn't. That's the thing. You need to have faith in yourself.
Well, maybe next year.
Mm-hmm. No, I just remember because the when we moved down to North Carolina, it was before we had kids, and we celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving while we were down there, but we had just moved, so we didn't have the money to fly back. So, and I think we talked about this last week, where it's not really a big travel. I don't feel like it is, unless I'm totally missing out on something. I don't feel like it's as big a travel holiday here.
Canadian Thanksgiving?
Right. Yeah, it never was for me, but I mean, my family's mostly here anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, we had a couple that we used to hang out with a lot while we were there, and we're like, listen, we're going to do Canadian Thanksgiving, so come on over. It'll be the 4 of us. It'll be a great time. And we neither of us had ever made Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah. And we just like, you know what, we're going to do it. And it turned out great. It was fantastic.
You just set the microwave to 30 hours.
Yeah, I don't have any cooking skills. Even the internet at your fingertips. Literally, there's nothing you can't cook.
Yeah,
you have the internet at your fingertips.
Right. Right, but we didn't have to do that, and it was great. It was fantastic. It was a great weekend. A lot of video games were played, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second here.
A lot of coaxing friends into buying Xbox One X's to play.
That was
one of the year's worst games.
That was last weekend.
Okay.
One of the year's worst games. It's funny. We'll talk. Well, maybe we should talk about it now.
Is this a Sea of Thieves dig or a Red Dead Redemption callback?
No, it's a Fallout 76.
It's a Fallout 76 dig. Yeah, I was at Target over the weekend, not on Black Friday, but on Saturday, and they had an end cap that was all Fallout stuff and all Fallout 76. And the Metacritic on the game, now the reviews have started coming out, it's right around 50.
Ouch.
The Metacritic. And I thought about it. It's like, is this, a game with an end cap? Is this like, the first time a game that has a Metacritic of 50 with an end cap in stores? And
I'll bet you it's not.
A pack in with the Xbox One X.
I bet there's a lot of Sonic games.
Yeah,
that would mean
probably true. That's probably true. Sonic 06, yeah. But the reviews for that game started coming out last week, and a lot of them were negative. And I feel like the initial reviews sort of set a negative tone that all the rest sort of fell into. And we were talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 being one of those where, you know, the echo chamber kind of rang positive despite there being, you know, flaws with the game,
right?
That aren't indicated in reviews. I feel like it's worked the other direction for a game like Fallout 76, which certainly
the two ends of the bell curve.
Yeah, as I said last week, there are significant problems with Fallout 76. It is a technically buggy game. Like, there are a lot of problems with quests not firing and server disconnects and things like that that absolutely need to be addressed. But the core of it is still a fun game. Like, I'm having fun with it. So when I read a review that's like, that gives it a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, I can't help but feel like that's an overreaction. Or because somebody has come before and said that this game is a 5 out of 10, like, it's okay then to give it a 1 out of 10.
I won't disagree with you that something like a 1 out of 10 is an overreaction, especially if you're in a situation where that particular outlet wouldn't normally give something that low.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know that it's the same idea where it's like the echo chamber is like, this is actually a game that everyone was just hating on because a few people hated on it early on. Because even in your description of it last week, you spent more time talking about what was wrong with it.
I did. You're right.
Than what was right with it.
You're right.
So, I mean, no. Yeah. And I haven't met anyone, even people who like it. No one seems to want to defend that game as far as, no, it's a technical mess.
Yeah.
And if you've been a fan of Bethesda's Fallout games, was it 3 and 4 in New Vegas?
New Vegas was Obsidian.
Obsidian, thank you.
Yeah.
But anyway, the post Interplay Fallout games. I think they were Interplay games originally, right?
Yeah.
They've taken all the story bits out, right? So I mean, there's something there to complain about.
Well, not sure. You mean the story in Fallout 76?
It's not like it was.
Are you saying there's no story in Fallout 76?
Yeah.
I only played the beta. I haven't played the final release, but my impression from the beta matches up a lot with what I'm hearing about 76 post-release, especially in that story aspect. You know, I'm sure this matches up more or less with the final release, where you leave the vault and you've got a message and you're supposed to go track someone down who's already left the vault. And then when you do, it's a dead body. And they have a note on it that says, like, find the next person. And then they're also a dead body. And so forth. It continues until you sweep the land of all the cadavers to read notes off of. And I just feel like that was very hamstringy to say there are no human NPCs. And to the point where the one mission I really have a clear memory of playing in the beta asked me to go meet the mayor of a town.
Right.
And when I got there, I was doing this on the Chive Gaming stream, so I had some people around me. I said, I bet this person's either dead or a robot. And we get to them, and it's a computer, and they're like, oh, I'm the mayor. He has a dead robot. He goes, I'm the mayor. I bet you weren't expecting me to be a computer. And I was like, no, I was, because there are no human NPCs.
Yeah.
And that at that point, I'm like, every story is going to have this kind of twist. Like, it's either going to be a dead body with another note, or the item, or it's going to be a computer. And that's just very limiting.
And I mean, you know, whatever. If that's not something that bothers you, who cares? You know, and clearly it doesn't bother you, CJ. And so who cares? I mean, you know, you're playing it and you're enjoying it. But I can see people being irritated about it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the thing I like Bethesda RPGs for is those kind of like little story things to the side. It's never about the main mission. It's about the things you discover yourself while taking an adventure off the side. So if you're going to, you know, cuff people to these very limited ways to tell their stories, it's going to hamper someone's enjoyment.
You know, there are so many of those story breadcrumbs in this game. Like, every location that you go to has its own story. And you're right that the story is often a dead body with a note attached to it, or it's being told by a robot. And that's true. I don't know how they could have done an online Fallout.
I don't think anyone did.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Fallout is just too opposite the idea of a group playing together. Like, the character is always called like the lone wanderer or something very lonely.
So, because I've had a lot of fun playing with Greg's friend Mike on 76, and there are a lot of sort of group oriented mechanics in the game. Like there's a workshop mechanic where you can take over a workshop in the world and have it farm resources for you. And you can take over, if you're playing in a team, you can have multiple workshops in the environment, which is fantastic. And there's also these sort of daily events and events that spring up in specific places around the map that other players can come and help out with or try to interfere with. That's a really interesting aspect of how the game plays.
Playing with your friends is always more fun, though, even with bad games.
It is. You're absolutely right.
And I think that's great. And I know that works for you because that's exactly why you like Sea of Thieves so much.
True.
But yeah, I mean,
absolutely. Well, a very threadbare story in the actual game itself.
Right. But yeah, I mean, more traditional, even Bethesda RPG players over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
That's not what they were expecting, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I think people saying that, Bethesda's going to find some way to pull out the online component of this game and make it single player only. I don't see how you can do that in this game.
I don't see them doing that at all.
I don't see that happening. I do hope this upcoming week we hear from Bethesda, like how they're going to fix things or attempt to fix things. I hope we get a patch this week. I hope we hear something about content roadmap, because if they are going to run this game like a live service game, it'd be good to know what their plans are, even if it's like a vague timeline of what they're going to try to do. I'd be happy with that. And there are a lot of
sounds like even before they get into a timeline,
boarded up. So I mean, there are a lot of places that could have more stuff put in to them. So, and the events that happen in the world, a lot of them just repeat. Like every time you enter the same area, it's like I've done this event like 3 or 4 times, and you enter the area and it springs again. So it's just I'd like to see more development on the idea. I think they've got something really interesting here, and whether that's introducing human NPCs to the world, if they can do that, I'm open to it. I would definitely want to see them do something with this other than just leave it the way it is. I don't want that.
I think though, really what you said there earlier, I think they have a lot of technical issues that they really need to iron out before they start worrying about a roadmap.
They absolutely do.
Yeah, because it still sounds like it's a mess.
Server disconnections, or like when I fast traveled to Mike's camp, I was placed underneath camp every time. And things like we had a quest to slay like 10 feral ghouls in this country club area. And there were dozens of those enemies that I shot and killed, and it would not advance the number. And at one point, the quest just disappeared from my quest.
Yeah, so it's got some technical issues.
Definite issues with the game, but I am having a lot of fun playing and tinkering around and exploring the world. It's fun for that. And does it deserve a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10? I don't know, but yeah.
I think you only get into 1 or 2 territory based on technical problems. I don't think a lot of people. I mean, you guys would know this better than me, given your previous careers, but I don't feel like you get down that low unless it's just because of huge bugs that are breaking the game experience.
Certainly that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Well, I think going back to Red Dead, it seems like in those reviews, the story was enough to overcome a lot of issues. Because even in some of the glowing reviews that you read, they call out like, there's a lot of really boring stuff here, but still like 9 out of 10 or so
sometimes
you can clearly get around technical issues. But yeah,
it depends what kind of player you are too, right? Like you're the type of person that can overlook technical issues based on whether it's the theme or the world that the game is trying to portray. Like I think you can overlook some of that stuff.
Jim Sterling did a video exactly about this week, actually, where he hates Fallout 76. He thinks it's a buggy mess, and he's not wrong. And basically he called out, like, he went back and looked at their previous, I think all their console games for the last 15 years or so. I think he started with Elder Scrolls 3, but I'm not sure. And sort of calls out like, this is not new for Bethesda.
Sure.
This, especially I think most notorious is Skyrim on the PlayStation 3 that had just endless technical issues, and then would patch it and it would have more issues.
And if you played over like 30 hours, the saves would take longer and longer to load.
Would get exponentially bigger, right? Like, so I mean, this is not new.
Sure,
but it's what he called out is like he was willing to overlook it back then because of their storytelling, and now that that's gone, it's harder to overlook all these other problems.
I totally agree with that. Like, I think they absolutely have to address the technical issues in this game. Like, they can't leave it as it is, right? And they've discounted the game for Black Friday already.
That's crazy to me.
A week and a half after. Actually, it was a week.
Yeah, I saw like 33%.
Yeah,
there was 33% off, and it's like, oh my god, like. And they put out a patch early last week, and I don't think it did anything because I'm still running into frame rate issue, and it was a 48 gig download.
Oh my god!
Jeez.
And still having frame rate issues and crashing issues in the game. So
weren't patches on Xbox 360 limited to like 50 megabytes or something?
They were limited to something, but they were limited.
Those Xbox Live Arcade games were limited, and I think you're right. Patches may have
patches were too.
Yeah, but
which
now
is why, like, somebody said, like, oh, we're never going to update our scoreboard because we have to do a patch, and the patch would be too big.
Yeah,
or I think they also charge like $50,000 per patch or something like that.
I think they still do. I think platforms still do that.
Well, if they're 48 gigs per patch, I can understand why.
In this case, I think Bethesda has to bite the bullet on that one and get this game fixed on the platforms that it's available.
I think they need to revamp Fallout in a bigger way also, and not just in I'm not going to say shoehorn, but adding in multiplayer elements. I feel like the formula has run dry after 3 of their more or less standard releases: Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. I don't know what it is you need to change. I just know by the time 4 rolled around, I couldn't have been more excited and more disinterested in actually playing it once I did.
Yeah. 4, I enjoyed 4. I almost finished 4, actually. But yeah, the formula has not changed. And in a 76 being a multiplayer game, you would think they would have improved the shooting mechanics. But we're like with VATS, the way that it works now, being real time, it just does not work against like large enemy mobs. Like, they're on you before you can do anything about it. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, they probably should have made this an early access style game, or said that they were going to grow this with the community or address the bugs with the community, and maybe they will still do that,
or make it free or sell it at a steep discount.
Well, they are selling it at a steep discount.
Well, they are now.
Yeah, if it was free, I'd play a buggy multiplayer Fallout. Although I don't know why I'm saying that, because I have a code sitting in my inbox and I haven't installed it. So I don't know if free is really the difference maker for me personally.
Well, and the things that they are selling, they do have a virtual currency in the game, and you can buy things, but the outfits that you can buy in the store are outfits that you can find in the game itself for free. So yeah,
sure.
You just buy them early, and the currency that they're selling you can earn in the game really easily. So you don't need to buy any of that stuff.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That'll be one of the patches.
Indeed. So that's kind of all I've been playing since we just ran right into
what skipped right over news.
I mean, this Pokemon Let's Go sold real well. Let's go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. It's the fastest selling Switch title ever. That's the news. All right, let's go into.
Yeah, there's no one here who would want us to talk about that, so it doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah.
Does anyone even play those games?
Exactly.
I forgot my Switch at home, or I might have during my travels.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was rough.
Games, so many, especially Diablo. It's great. Anyway.
Yeah, I saw Greg that got that great deal at Walmart, and I was jealous because I was I was in a Walmart dead zone where it was like a 15-mile drive to the nearest one, and I was like, it's not worth it. But I would have liked a cheap Diablo since I haven't played that game yet.
Oh. All right. Well, why don't you tell us about what you have been playing since you are our guest?
Sure. So since I didn't have my Switch while I was traveling, I downloaded Donut County on my iPhone.
Nice.
I can't recall if it's been brought up in great detail before on the show, but it's a nice little time waster with a humorous twist to the writing. And it's certainly no challenge to anyone, but if you enjoy just a couple of jokes thrown in with some clever puzzles.
It's just a single player whole IO with a story. Is that really all it is?
Yeah, that's really it. I wouldn't even say it's all of whole IO because it doesn't present a challenge. It's not really about challenging you for the most part. It's just about going along with it and completing it. And then at the end, there's like a boss battle that totally cramped my hands and I hated. But other than that, it's really about just enjoying the comedy of the writer and having some cute art in the background while you do it. They have this whole and I'm sure every podcast in the world has already discussed this, but they have this like dictionary at the end that defines terms. It's like the Garbagepedia, because everything in the game is the garbage you suck down the hole. And it's just funny how they describe different items with like they take a garbage can instead of saying garbage can, they'll have another name for it and description. And most of the humor is the draw there. Or if you're me, it's because you forgot your Switch. I also tried out Hitman 2 last week, and that is more Hitman, but better. So I'm enjoying that. And I had a funny situation on the second level of the game where I accidentally got into a firefight, but I was well covered.
Sounds like Red Dead.
Buffoon after Buffoon came like charging into this room, and I gunned them down until there was no bad guys left on the level. And I just walked up to the character I was supposed to assassinate and hit her with a hammer. And there was no one around to do anything about it.
That must have taken a long time.
It was like 5 minutes of gunfire, and then I saw her like walk out of her compound, like, where is everybody? And I was like, I'm the only one left.
Doesn't it dock you points if you kill people?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
All right.
He's not calling it a success.
Right. But
I mean, no witnesses, dead target.
All witnesses dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then lastly, I tried out the new Jackbox Party Pack, which is always a big hit for Thanksgiving and gatherings. I would say the standout from it was probably Split the Room, in which you have to give answers to questions that you think will divide people. So
nice.
It would be like, oh, what is a hot dog a sandwich, as an example. And that's a very divisive thing to ask people. So you have to come up.
Weird thing to be divisive, but yeah.
I'm not making a public statement. But yeah, it gives you prompts and you write in your fill in, and then based on how the rest of the people vote, you get points if it's as divided as possible.
So you create the question.
No, they create the question, and they have like a blank spot that you fill in. So
okay, I get it.
Like, is a blank, or is everyone afraid of blank?
Right. I'm sure Thanksgiving 2018 in the United States, that kind of game would have been amazing. Some of the things you could have put in those questions.
I mean, they're all still very relevant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool though. I love those games. I keep telling, like, if we have a Christmas due here this year, I'm definitely going to be breaking that out.
Yeah, it's always worth it. I'm always happy when those come out.
Yeah.
They do great work.
Yeah. Oh, they're awesome. I mean, they've been doing great work for years. Like,
sure.
You Don't Know Jack games were always amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes they include You Don't Know Jack in the bundle, and I think it's the most ignored thing every time we play.
Yeah. Well, it's it's because it's just sort of a standard trivia game. It's fun. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But all the other activities they've got are so much more interesting.
Yeah, the drawing games are always fun too.
Mm. Yeah,
generally you can do those with kids. Sometimes not though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a new drawing game in this one also. I have their page open because I didn't want to forget. Called Patently Stupid, and so people come up with not inventions, but another like fill in the blank prompt. then someone writes it in, and then another person is told to like draw that thing. And then they have a presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation at the end, where you have to sell everyone on financing your patent so that you can go on to sell. So when I was doing it, you need to reach like a minimum financing backing. Then everyone has like $500 to spend. You need like $2,000 to build your machine. And so my prompt was a place for the boys to hang out or something like that. And so I drew Dino's Bar and Grill from the Thin Lizzy song. The boys are back in town. And I unfortunately was unable to finance my invention. But one person in the room was very enthusiastically on board.
I was going to say, how many people in the room even got it?
One person.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all that matters. Yeah. But not in that case.
I like that game a lot, but yeah, and there's good ones and bad ones. I hate putting down any of them, but one of them was an action game in a way that really broke from all the previous Jackboxes, where you have, instead of using a controller, you have controls on your phone, and it's very actively controlling things on screen. And we only played that for about 20 seconds before everyone was like, why are we doing this? This is not how we want to play a game like this. And it was like a tower fall kind of thing.
Okay.
And I don't have a lot to say about that. It was called Zeeple Dome. Just it's not one to start with if you're opening up your new Jackbox 5.
Okay.
And that's what I've been playing.
Alrighty, Greg.
So played some more modern stuff this week too, but I'm playing a lot of Tetris Effect. I finally tried out all the different modes on Tetris Effect, and I finished the I forget what they call the campaign, but I finished that journey. Finished the journey. But it's so great. I still love just busting it out, and the weekend ritual is actually motivating me to go in and play a little bit every weekend, which is nice.
Reward that sweet avatar.
Sweet avatar. But I finally tried there's one effect mode that does different effects while you're playing. I forget what it's a countdown timer. Where I tried that for the first time today, and oh my gosh, I wasn't really prepared for that. Like they'll take things like it starts out normally, and then sometimes I think they give you some garbage blocks, and then it'll create an effect. And one effect is they can be as simple as like you don't have access to the piece that you swapped and saved, because the game lets you save a piece for later if you want, or it can be as simple as you don't get to see what the upcoming pieces are. But then one is they turn the well upside down and they reverse the controls.
And
then one is they take any garbage that's sitting in the well and they shuffle it on you, or they create bomb areas that you have to clear out. Actually, it's that you have to clear them out. And if you don't clear them out within a certain amount of time, it just leaves a gigantic hole in the garbage in the well. That's like really, really, you can't clear those lines anymore until you go right to the bottom. So really fantastic. Love that game so much. I know we've been talking about it like every week, but I keep playing it. Don't want to put it down. So
that was the mode that I said was the best innovation in Tetris gameplay, like that I think some people had a problem with, but I really had fun with that mode because of the unexpectedness of what was going to happen next.
Right.
Not only the well being flipped upside down, but the bomb thing, and the thing where it places a random block like in some different locations and have like place it right there, or the huge Tetris piece that you have to deal with. I don't know if you got that one where it's just this really big,
which is apparently if you look at the
is that a glitch?
Yeah. Was it the John Linneman videos? He did a big Tetris video.
Yeah, that's right.
And not all that stuff is new. It's actually been in a lot of not a lot, but it's been in different versions of Tetris,
skipping a couple years of a sports game, and everyone who doesn't play is the same every year. If you skip a couple Tetrises.
And that was kind of my thing with the, like I totally get where people are coming from saying like, I'm not spending $40 on Tetris again. Oh my God. Like I have so many different versions of Tetris, and I totally get that. And I don't have a problem with that, but I'm kind of the same way. I think the last Tetris I bought was the DS version, or
Yeah.
And then before that, I think the last one I had actually purchased was Tetris DX. And then before that, and then before that was Tetris on the Game Boy. So like, I think this is the fourth time I purchased Tetris, and
Puyo Tetris also.
I didn't get into Puyo Puyo Tetris. I really, really don't like Puyo Puyo, but
you can in that game you don't have to play Puyo Puyo at all. You can just play Tetris.
Yeah, but he's got Tetris Effect now.
But I'm glad I didn't, because then Tetris Effect came out and it was easier to justify spending money on that as opposed to like, hey, I bought a Tetris game 2 years ago that I don't really play. So anyway.
If only they put Tetris Effect on Switch.
It's
better on the Switch.
That's got
the first time that's not funny.
That's got to be coming, right?
So I hope you've enjoyed Jeff's first and last episode. One of the things that I play a lot, or that I've been playing, that I play every week on my Twitch channel, is classic adventure games, and I've been sort of going chronological order. And this week I actually played Sierra's game based on the Disney movie The Black Cauldron.
I thought you played this before.
No, I played The Dark Crystal.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That movie gave me nightmares as a kid.
The Dark Crystal?
Yeah.
That's such a great movie.
Those puppets are just so malnourished looking.
Yeah. The Skeksis they got me.
I mean, like the good guy puppets.
Oh, I get it.
That freaked me out.
The Gelfling?
Gelflings?
Gelflings.
I did not like the hero characters in that movie. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack you.
Anyway, no, the thing is that when I'm playing these games that are based on old movie properties, if I haven't seen the movie, which I'd never seen the Black Cauldron before, I'd heard about it. I mean, it's an infamous film where it's basically the movie that everyone seems to agree brought Disney to its knees. It was a huge disaster,
troubled production, and financial failure.
Yeah. Huge disaster for the company. Was also sort of the beginning of the turnaround, because that was right around the time that Eisner came in, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Katzenberg. Do I have that right? Anyway, it kind of killed their animation studio until the Renaissance in the 90s. So, but I'd never seen it before, and of course you can rent movies on YouTube now, because I don't really torrent things. So I rented it, and wow, it's as bad as I thought it might be. That is an awful movie.
Yeah,
it's boring.
It is boring. I
saw a little scary.
Boring.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, because I mean, you read about it, and it's like you read that the biggest problem that they had is that there were some parts in it that were just extremely frightening that they actually ended up cutting back.
Yeah.
For kids, and it is 85. I think this came out. That's not the problem with the movie. The movie's just boring.
Movie is boring. Yeah.
Like, whew. Anyway, the game was interesting. It was done by Al Lowe, one of the first games that was written by Al Lowe for Sierra. Was right, I think it was right before Leisure Suit Larry came out. And it was made for kids. So instead of that crazy old sort of parser where you type in all the commands in Sierra games, it's actually driven by function keys. It's literally like an inventory function, a use function, and an interact function, and that's it. It's a cool little game. Better than the movie.
All right.
Sorry, I'm just looking at our chat. Other than that, I finished up Return of the Obra Dinn this week. Still highly recommend that game for anyone. Not even, I'm not even going to qualify it. Just highly recommended.
Play it
in general. Just go play it.
Can I ask you? And this is not a qualifier, but how long did it take you? Not because I have a value issue, but I just like to know how much time I need to invest.
It took me, I want to say 8 hours.
Okay.
Now that was me going back and forth through the memories multiple times and figuring. So the way the game works, I've explained it before on the show. So just really quick, I'll say it again, where you have to identify all 60 lost souls on the ship that disappeared 5 years ago and has reappeared. Identify who they are and how they died, and that's it. Now you can get to a certain point in the game where it'll say, basically, if you want to leave the ship now, you can, even if you haven't identified all 60 people. And that'll end the game. So the game can end quite soon, a lot quicker than as long as it took me. But if you want to, then the flip side is if you want to really get into it, and I have my notebook here, and just write tons and tons of notes and go back and forth.
I love notebook games.
This is the first time I've done it in a long time, but yeah, I just kept loads of notes about the game for anyone who's watching YouTube. And managed to identify everyone, which was great.
Did you play through Her Story when it came out?
No, although I've heard this game compared to that multiple times.
Okay, so Her Story was one of my favorite experiences once I finally got around to it, and I definitely had like the notebook situation going on. There's a lot of the same thing, trying to like identify what was going on without having the whole story, and keying in on words that were said in the little videos you watch to discover new clues. And what's really, and I'm only talking about Her Story now because I have not played the Obra Dinn yet. Plan to yet. In Her Story was how I was coming up with what I thought was going on, and how little by little, like I'd have to change the whole of the story in my head because one detail would come out. So I wasn't actually getting any closer to the actual story, but I was creating new fiction in my head over and over again based on one tiny detail that I'm like, wait a second, that changes everything.
Right. And there's a little bit of that in excuse me, in Obra Dinn as well, although it's more misleading than anything else. Generally, if you're doing that, it's because you've misidentified someone. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I love that. The thing that I really love about it is that the story that you end up with is pretty good, although it just seems to be like one disaster after another. But the subtle clues that get you to where you need to be is what really sold me on the game. Like, you can go through, and if you're not paying close attention, you can do okay. But really, the way to be successful in that game is to, when you're in the different memories, is to not only look at the events that are unfolding there, but to sort of check every nook and cranny and keep your eyes open, and not just by seeing what people are there, but sort of keeping track of them through the timeline. Look at how they're dressed, because they all dress a certain way. If they're a helmsman or the carpenter, like, is he holding a hammer? All that might be the ship's carpenter, right? Like things like that. Or even their accents when they speak. Like it's all, or even if one of them has a pipe. Like there's one scene, and not to spoil anything, but there's one guy in there that you literally can identify by, you see him fall overboard at one point, and if you check the model closely, you'll see that a pipe is falling out of his pocket as he's falling overboard, because you're only seeing a single frame. And then when you go back to an earlier scene, you'll see somebody sleeping in a cot that you can't identify because they've got their blanket up over their head, but you see a satchel hanging on the wall, and there's a pipe in one of the pockets of the satchel. And it's like, aha, that's him. And then you figure out how to identify him through that scene. So there's a lot of that going on. Yeah, I just I'm over the moon about the game. I really, really enjoyed it. It's like a perfect length for me. Completely different than anything else I've been playing because it wasn't action oriented. So yeah, highly recommended.
If you're thinking about Her Story, another one to go back to that follows that same like non-action oriented gameplay with a mystery to solve. Event Zero was really good, and I beat that in a single sitting of like 2 hours. Very satisfying.
I'm gonna have to write that one down. Event Zero.
Unfortunately, it's spelled weird, so it's a little hard to find on Google.
Okay.
It's like event and then parentheses 0, or the zeros in the O of.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. Anyway, you'll find it. Yeah, you'll find it.
Thanks. That's a good tip, because I really dug it, and I think I'm in the right mood to go, especially one that's that short, to go tackle something like that.
I really like getting those kinds of games in my suggestion box. Those like short 2 to 4 hour window with like a mystery, and you're delving into a story that you have to figure out. Like those get my goat.
Right, and when you're staring down the barrel of some other games that, and I'm not even just talking about Red Dead, but other games that I do want to play that are like dozens of hours long.
Yeah,
and it just feels like the ending is so far away on those for me. Something that I can complete in a few sittings feels great. The only thing that I was really playing this week, and I did this last night, is I finally went back to Astrobot on PlayStation VR, which I think is kind of important to play some more, because the PlayStation VR, there were some really great deals for that this week.
Yeah.
I know Phil ended up purchasing one.
He did. Yeah.
And another buddy of mine, Ryan, actually purchased one as well. And Astrobot came in the bundle along with Moss, I believe.
Moss is so good.
It is. Astrobot, so good. I played it for 2 more hours last night. I am crazy about that game.
Ooh, 2 hours in VR? Are you able to? Are you taking breaks?
Who's talking to me? I can't see anything.
No.
No,
Okay.
but well, that's just it. Like I was to the point where I'm like, I don't even know what time it is. Like I should really check my watch because
it's like a casino. They keep you in the dark.
Pretty much.
The whole house is burned down around you.
Pretty much. No, it's just extremely well thought out. It's super cute. It's got tons of personality. The little robot characters have tons of personality. But I mean, you're going through these platforming areas, you're standing up to look around sometimes, you have to lean around corners, and there's so many little things you can find if you just want to be a little bit curious about things. And the way they handle it, because you are a physical being in the world, you like you personally, as well as the little character you're controlling, and they play with that in different ways. And the boss fights, so I've done 2 boss fights so far. They're incredible. They're really, really well designed. And then one of the things that I was starting, because I really had only scratched the surface of this game when I played it previously, one of the things they do in the game too is they actually turn your controller, which you can always see on the screen, they turn it into a tool. So like I've unlocked 2 tools for it so far. One is a grappling hook, which you can use to grab walls, or you can use to create paths for your little robot, like little high wire paths. And then one is a water cannon, which you're in a lava world, so it makes sense to have it there. And the boss fights actually take these into account. The first boss fight, you're on the top of a skyscraper, and you're fighting basically a King Kong character. And when he bites down on the building, you run in with a little robot and you attack his teeth, and you break them to the point that you can use the grappling hook to grab them and actually yank them out. And that's like how the whole boss fight is set up. And then I played the lava boss, which I won't go into detail on, but I absolutely adored the fight. It was so creative and so much fun. I'm so glad that I sat down and played some more of this game last night, because it's really, really good. And I can't wait for Phil to get his VR helmet, because I really want to talk to him about it, because this is something that I know is going to be right up his alley. So I'm really curious to hear what he thinks of it. But
since it got brought up in the chat, you have an original. You have
I have a launch
PS4,
I have a launch
not
unit.
PS4 Pro.
Yep.
So,
and it's fine. It runs fine. I mean, I think it's slightly lower resolution, but it really doesn't matter. It's a very pretty game, and if you ended up getting this set, not to ignore Moss, because Moss is great as well, but if you ended up getting this set during the Black Friday sales, don't just play this game for a few minutes. Really give it some time.
Yeah.
Because it's not that long. It's only like, I think it's only 5 worlds total, but there's a bunch of challenges. And then there's also something that they did with these Astrobots in the original release of the PSVR, where you could go into this sort of trophy room, and you could use the coins you got in the different games in a gacha machine and unlock little dioramas and things like that to decorate the room. They've basically taken that and transferred it into this game. At one point, when you actually gain access back to your spaceship again, you go in there and there's just a bunch of little treasure chests. And when you go to them, you can spend the coins that you've earned to play this little gacha, or it's a UFO catcher, basically. And you unlock these little dioramas, and then you can redecorate the room based on the different levels you've been in. And it's just extremely cute. And it creates these little playgrounds that you can hop around with, and you can get all the little robots you've saved follow you. And it's adorable.
Not giving VR games proper time has been my biggest problem with enjoying VR.
Me too. Me too. I mean, it's
like my own fault. I know it. I get so disinterested so quickly for some reason.
I'm the same way because I mean, I bought this when it came out. I gave it a lot of time at first. Played Batman. Played that horror game that I can never remember the name of.
Rise of Blood. Rush of Blood.
Rush of Blood. Played through Thumper. A bunch of other stuff that I really loved, and then I put it away, and then it's like I'll go onto the store and realize there's a ton of content there.
Yeah,
but it's like I don't want to take it out and set it up, but then like this game came out.
Tetris
Effect, and Sean, our listener Sean, sent me some codes for Moss and Astrobot, and I mean, the thing's out and connected now, and I don't want to put it away. And
I was lucky enough to go to E3 2 years ago, and the last appointment of my showtime was to see Moss. And I'd more or less been ignoring it because it was a game I never heard of, and it was a VR title. And so I put it right at the end, and I was like, okay, if I feel like not just skipping it and going to my hotel, I'll go see this game. And that was game of the show for me. Was when I finally sat down.
Really good.
Moss. Yeah. And I was screaming to everyone I could talk to. I'm like, Moss is the thing. Pay attention to Moss. Moss is going to be the game you want PSVR for. And then when it came out, I bought a PSVR and I got Moss. And I don't think I played past the original demo point that I had been given because I'm just like, wow, this is so great. I'm distracted though, like a child who wants to look at a phone. Like I can't keep my concentration in VR games on the game itself. I guess maybe it's a sensory deprivation thing where I'm like very interested in what I'm not experiencing at that moment. But the only game in VR I've actually finished was Super Hot. And I think it's because it's so bite-sized and like chunky where like you can take it off and pick it up and you're not missing really anything if you go away for a while.
And I think I should call out in Astrobot too, because I said I sat there and played it for 2 hours. You don't need to play it that way. Each world has 5 levels in it, and the levels are relatively I'm talking like 4 or 5 minutes, I think. You know, I was going back and because there's 10 robots to find and a chameleon to find in every world, because the chameleons unlock challenges.
And that probably had a big part of why you were able to do that, is that it had those like very small bites.
Well, yeah. And when I realized it was, you know, getting on a little bit past midnight, it was like, well, I want to see what this next world's about, because I know I'm only going to play it for like 5 minutes and I'll finish the level. I might not necessarily rescue all the characters, but you know, and that's what I did. And the other thing that they really did a great job with, I'm going to say one more thing here too, is that the worlds are the level designs are very different, and everything doesn't feel the same. It feels very different every time. Like the worlds are truly unique. So another thing that I love about it. It's great. It's a great game. If you can get that, if you can get that bundle and you're even on the fence about it and you can afford it, just go do it. It's worth it.
All right.
Wish you would come to Vive.
Nope.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. I know.
That's all I've been playing.
All right. Well, then I think it is time to do some tweets.
Tweet. So disconcerting.
Disembodied voice from Chicago. Yeah.
I always thought that was just you doing an impression.
No.
But your lips don't move.
So. They don't. I'm just that skilled. Yes. All right. Let's do this one from hacker alias Mad Macam UK, who says, what do you think of games being reduced in price a week after launch? I don't mind a game being reduced not long after release, but felt a bit annoyed at Fallout 76 being reduced so much after a week after I paid £60 for it.
Yeah. That's the price you pay for early adoption in every industry.
Yeah, I think
buy a TV, buy a game, anything.
I think that's definitely the case. I think it happens every year. Like, it just depends which game it is, right? That has that deep discount. And even Assassin's Creed Odyssey is, I think, the same price, at least digitally, as Fallout is. Although, of course, it wasn't discounted as fast as Fallout.
Yeah, a week's pretty fast.
Yeah, a month is
pretty
exceedingly fast. Yeah.
I remember a couple years ago, and I say a couple, it's probably more like a decade now at this point, but there was a lot of discussion around Steam that there was some game that was saying it was going to be discounted for people who bought early, and the price would go up as the game went up. And that eventually is what happened to Minecraft too, because you could get it for $20 when it was in beta and alpha. And then when they had like a final release, the price jacked up. So it'd be interesting what the economics are on sales of unpopular games, you know, not using Minecraft as the example, being a juggernaut. If someone was like, yeah, come in early and you save, and everyone else, you know, you do it now or you get screwed later. I bet it doesn't work out.
Come in early.
Yeah, you probably get whoever you're gonna get.
I think you could probably do that with an online game. And I think a lot of games sort of use that founders pack idea as you're getting a deal when really you're just buying a ton of the virtual currency that will eventually just be a free to play game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Star Trek Online had a lifetime pass when it launched.
Really?
I didn't play the game, but I remember that there was an option that was like, yeah, you don't pay a subscription, you pay this one-time thing for your life.
Interesting.
CJ's best friend Mike there in the chat just said what I was thinking, where it was where he's saying like most major retailers will actually price protect recent purchases. Now I don't think that helps you with digital.
No, it doesn't. No,
but I worked at GameStop. Really, I never heard about that.
Really?
I mean, that was in high school. Okay.
I think this is more a thing in recent years. Yeah, like I think GameStop probably does this now, but Best Buy definitely does, where there's like a 14-day window. If you see it cheaper, you can come in and get the difference back.
Did you see that video of the guy trying to return Fallout 76?
Oh my God.
Yeah. But really say what you will about
gamer session sauce.
Say what you will about Fallout 76's quality. Really, that's more a commentary on GameStop's return policy, right? Where you bring in a game and you're only going to get store credit, you're not going to get cash, which seemed like that was the issue.
Yeah, see, I don't think the issue was their return policy at all.
Yeah, Best Buy's not going to give you a full credit.
Where are you going to go and get full credit for an open
where
game?
Are you? Yeah, you're not.
It's just software in general.
Yeah, exactly. Is it worth destroying a GameStop over?
For that guy it was. But I really love in the videos the clerk that just answers the phone casually after.
I know, he's just totally well, actually, even the guy that walks in the door too, he's just kind of standing there like, wow. Okay.
What just happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of deep discounts, and this is a real sidetrack, but did you see that Turner refunded everyone who streamed the Tiger Woods Phil Mickelson?
Oh, really? Contest? Why? What happened?
Well, they had some technical issue and they just gave away the stream for free. So everyone who had actually paid for it was then upset that they had been paying for it.
Oh,
so it's kind of a mirror situation where they deep discounted something other people had already paid for. And the route they went was to refund people. But I kind of feel like there's no correct answer to that. There's just consumer outrage in the way that, the internet's always outraged over something consumer level. Because if you were willing to pay for something, isn't it Turner's prerogative if they want to make it free later? Like, they don't owe you a refund. Like, if they wanted to price it at $1 the day of the event, isn't that just their company decision? Like, certainly you're not going to win any friends with your customers.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't know. But we used to talk about something similar to this with Telltale. This is why I stopped playing games, where you'd buy the season pass up front, and then it would be discounted before the full season had even been released, right?
Almost
which I think is
right when episode 2 came out, they'd do like a 33% off thing and be like, oh, why did I even pay price?
Then, whereas a flip side of that, like, I've always been a fan of how Microsoft has done it with like the Forza games, where they'll tell you if you buy the VIP edition or whatever they call it, you get to play a week early, but you're paying us for it. This is more expensive. Right. Like, and when it comes out, it's going to be cheaper for everybody else, but you agreed to pay for it so that you get to play it early. And that's fine. I mean, you're paying a premium for a premium service, and I'm totally okay with that. But yeah.
I think it's just a very interesting issue with no black and white to it.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. You're right. All right. Hacker Alias Rambus Dunk says, what are the chances controllers for the next PlayStation and Xbox have wireless charging?
Oh, please. Please.
That would be nice. That would be nice. I think the problem here is what MSRP do you want to pay for extra controllers, right?
I think there's also an ergonomics issue.
And there might be that as well, yeah. I think you, at least third parties have found a nice place for both of the existing controllers to kind of rest and charge. So they probably could find something similar for the next generation. I don't expect either PlayStation or Xbox to have too many changes on their wireless control pads. I had like an Xbox 360 cradle, a charging cradle, and there's one for PlayStation also that kind of like you snap in your, even though it's a mini USB.
That's what I've got. I've got the Energizer ones for the PlayStation 3 and 4.
Yeah,
I actually had the top charging cradle break on me this week.
I love the 360 battery packs that they sold. I mean, they worked for shit after 9 months, but it was really easy to like swap them in and out and keep them on a charge stand. Looking at my controllers.
Say
that again.
the 360 battery packs are why I didn't buy them for the one, because I went through so many of those things.
Yeah.
Looking at the controllers in front of me, it looks like the PlayStation has like a very large flat surface. You could probably add a QI system to.
Yeah.
But then you'd also need. I mean, they're so finicky when I use my iPhone on the stands I have. Like, you really got to get it right on that thing. So
same.
Yeah, it's true.
Kind of bump. Like, I'm looking at the Xbox One, and like, it really don't think it would work. It wouldn't get close enough.
Well, you need a cradle.
Standard.
You need a crate. You couldn't do it with Qi charger, the QI charger that you're talking about. You couldn't do it with that, right? You'd have to have like a specific wireless version for the Xbox, whatever it's called, controller or the PlayStation controller.
Honestly, makes me think they probably won't do it then, and they'll just rely on third parties to keep releasing cradles.
Yeah. But again, to me, in part, it's what price do you want to pay for standard controllers? I know, like now, Black Friday, we're used to paying $30 for extra controllers, but at system launch, they're expensive. They're like $60 a piece. Yeah. So if you're paying full MSRP for an extra controller, they're already not cheap. So if you're going to add in things like wireless charging or anything else, it's not going to be cheap. I mean, the Joy-Cons aren't cheap. Those like barely have any of the technology that you'd expect like a pro controller to have.
You'll allow me to twist the question a little. What new feature would you like to see in a standard out of the box controller with your new Xbox or PlayStation?
I want Xbox to add a share button. I use the share button on the Switch.
You do.
Isn't that what this square on square thing is?
No, it is not. That is the select button of the Xbox universe.
I would like them to go back to start and select, because I don't know what either one of these things is anymore.
I don't know what to call those buttons either. I just call them start and select, even though that's not what they're called anymore.
I think that's
start and back is what that 360 was.
Yeah, start and back. Yeah, it was the Xbox 360. Yeah, the fact that Xbox to share a screenshot, and I still do this all the time, you have to hit the Xbox Jewel and then hit the Y button, or if you have the Kinect on, you can do it via voice, but it's hard to exactly specify when you want to take a screenshot with voice. So they need to find a better way to do that.
No, I agree. I like that idea. Otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see much change at all for either of them. Although Derek in the chat just called out exactly what I was going to say is the PlayStation controllers. I hope they are a better build quality next time around. The rubber on the analog sticks on those things is god awful.
Yeah. And on the PlayStation controller, they never really found a great way to use that touchpad.
No,
it was sort of a good idea.
Like staring at it. It's just a big button now. That's all anyone uses, is a giant middle button. Which is useful. I like that there's a map button for a lot of games.
Yeah, some games use it as two buttons, the right side and left side.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel C in the chat has a good idea, which is like a volume control.
Yeah.
Maybe putting a mic into it, since there's already a speaker built in. So that way when you're playing a game of, I don't know, Madden or something, you can not have to search for a headset. You can just mic and speaker right in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that would work. That would work. But yeah, I don't see any. I don't know. I'm curious to see if they'll even try to do any major innovations. I feel like the major innovations this time around were not that special.
Well, and if they expect the next generation to be backwards compatible, they kind of have to use this as the base.
I would like to see a map button, the way that the PS4 controller has that large button, but it doesn't need to be the surface of the sun on the thing. Like, it can be a little smaller.
I have an idea. Put a little screen in there so that when you're playing like a football game, you can do your play calls.
Choose your plays.
Yeah.
We're talking about a VMU kind of situation.
Yeah.
Talking about a Wii U situation here.
Yeah.
Let's just make a Wii U gamepad. Yeah. All right. Let's go on to the next question.
Idea.
Hackerili's Iroy says, which video game world would you love to roam around in VR?
I mean, any of the classics would be nice, right? Like Mario and Sonic and any of that stuff. Anything's interesting in VR. Although scale is always weird. Scale always feels really weird
Yeah.
in VR. It's like everything's a lot smaller than I feel like it should be.
There is a Fallout VR, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. Yeah. That'd be fun. Sea of Thieves. Done.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't have a specific example, but I because that goes back to my VR ADD kicking in whenever I'm playing anything I am interested in. But anything that's like a major war, just to like walk around a battlefield would be cool, like from a educational standpoint.
I've long thought, and I've said this multiple times at work because we talk about VR tech all the time. I'm surprised that that's not more prevalent. Things like that.
Software?
Things like that, yeah, or just travel software in general. But you know, as an example, we have a fortress here in Nova Scotia, Louisbourg, and it's been, I think, 1/4 of it has been rebuilt. And then you can go into like when you go there and you're looking in the museum and everything, it's like, here's a diorama of what the rest of the fort would look like.
Yeah.
Like, what if you just give me spots that I can go and put on a headset and see
right
the scale of this and how, you know, where everything would be and all that sort of thing. Like, yeah, it would be fantastic. And you're right. I think battlefields from major wars would be another great use of something like that.
Yeah.
Just to give you a real feel for what it is, you know, that you can't really convey in photos.
Like, yeah. That doesn't exist anymore. Like, you can go visit France and there's still some trenches around that. I mean, there's grass growing on them, but you can't go back to, you know, Genghis Khan and ride a horse around Russia with him.
Right.
I like history. All right, nerds.
No, I totally get it.
It sounds expensive to make, though.
Yeah. VR, I'm not saying there's a market.
That's why you do it. Right. That's why you do it as a history project and get some government money. Get some
there you go.
Government cheddar.
All right. Let's do this one from Hackeralius, Sasquatch Shaggy, who says, "What did you guys pick up on Black Friday besides Ready Player One on Blu-ray?"
Phil bought out at least 40 copies of that.
I'm assuming, yeah. I mean, he's not here, but yeah, I can only assume he's watching it right now.
You know, I didn't think that movie was half as bad as the book was. That's not
I haven't read it or
I've seen the movie,
so.
Not read the book, but what you just described makes the book sound unreadable.
I would describe the book as unreadable, so that is accurate. I didn't get anything that was like especially on sale. I got an 8-bit Do controller.
Okay.
Which was on a Amazon.
Is it Do or Doe?
8-bit
Do.
It's probably
8-bit Doe.
I think it's Doe.
You want to talk about
Nintendo
Link's Horse for a while too?
The what?
Link's Horse is an argument I get in a lot. Is it Epona or Epona?
It's Epona.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I got some USB batteries. These are a cool thing I saw, but they weren't on sale. I just found them at the same time, which is they're rechargeable batteries that you plug into a USB port to recharge. They don't go into like a cradle.
Oh, interesting.
They have like a flip up USB slot to plug them in.
Wow.
And I don't know. I think I got like some bed sheets or something. It was a very unexciting Black Friday for me. I would have gone to Walmart and get that
bed
cheap.
sheets.
Wow, we'll see how soft they are. I would have gotten that $17 deal on Diablo because, like I said, I've never played Diablo 3 or any Diablo. So putting it on the Switch, where I know I have a friend who's playing it right now, would have been perfect. But I'm not quite tempted enough to get it at full price.
Yeah.
We actually have Black Friday up here.
Even though you don't have Thanksgiving.
Canadian Black Friday?
No, I mean, it's at the same time as your guys' Black Friday is. I don't think the deals are quite as good. But I didn't end up getting anything just because I'm in like super cheap mode this year, and even at half price, games here are still like $50 plus tax. So,
okay, I did get something interesting that I forgot about.
Okay. But anyway, I didn't end up getting anything because nothing was discounted heavily enough yet.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jeff?
I went through my Amazon order to see what I was forgetting about, and I ordered the Xbox HDMI cable from Pound for the original Xbox.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So I'm interested to see how well that works because I still hang on to my Xbox to play MVP baseball a lot.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes.
I picked up another year of Game Pass. It was cheap. I forget. It was like $39 or something like that. It was, or maybe not. Maybe it wasn't that cheap, but it was like half off. So I picked that up because I'm enjoying Game Pass. And then I did the. So my daughter really loves Goat Simulator, and the DLC, all of the DLC for Goat Simulator, there's like 4 or 5 different packs. Was on sale for like $6 on the Xbox, so I picked that up as well. And then, of course, because Sea of Thieves, have to pick something up there. They had a Black Friday thing going on where they gave away some in-game items that I don't have if you bought something from their web store. So of course I did. So yeah, so I have a Sea of Thieves hoodie coming towards me soon.
Like a real one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought you were talking about digital goods. That actually
like a real hoodie, and then I also get some digital stuff along with that. But anyway, yeah, that was it.
Hoodie in game.
That was not a digital hoodie, although I would totally wear that. Yeah. And then I picked up some gifts for various people that were on sale.
Yeah, I should say that I did get a couple of gifts. Nothing for myself, but I got a couple of my kids' presents for on a Black Friday sale.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this one from hacker alias Jacob Norgren. With Bubsy all the rage these days, can you elaborate on the infamous Bubsy 3D box quote? Was it real language you used? Was it in a preview? What was the context?
Yeah. CJ.
So backstory time. I worked at EGM back in the late 90s when Bubsy 3D came out, and I wrote a 2-page preview on the game. Little did I know, but they would pull stuff from that to use on the front of the box, including what is the pull quote here?
Somebody put it on Twitter earlier. ...
It's so it starts out with ellipsis, which is great if you're looking at pull quotes just in general. It starts out ... stunning ... original ... Bubsy 3D climbs back to the top ... check it out. Yeah.
Back to the top.
I mean, those words are in that preview.
Are they in that order?
They may be in that order. Yeah. But yeah, the story behind it is just, back in the day in late 90s EGM, you couldn't be negative about a game, even if you felt that way. So I had to write 2 pages on Bubsy 3D somehow, right? So I had to put words on the page. And yeah, I guess, the word stunning is a positive, has a positive connotation. Or calling something original as a connotation. But anyway, and yeah, ending a preview with check it out. Like, that seems that
safe territory.
If you look at late 90s EGM, I mean, that happens a lot, right? And it's very safe territory. But yeah, it got put on the cover of Bubsy 3D.
I think we're laughing at the same thing.
What is it?
Stunningly Bubsy-ish.
Bubsy-ish in the chat.
I should have said that. Yeah, I should have said that.
I actually started reading late 90s EGMs in my college years. I bought a stack of magazines off of Craigslist, probably just from listening to you guys or going back and re-listening to some old EGM podcasts. But I only started reading EGM back in like 2004, so I missed out on all the the great jokes of yesteryear.
After we were long gone. Yeah. So, and of course, if you listen to our after shows, how amazing or mid 90s to late 90s EGM is with
Which
words.
I do, and you all should too. It's only $5 a month.
There you go.
That's right. Patreon.com/P1 podcast. All right. So anyway, that's the story. It was very bad. It was very embarrassing for me at the time, but at least they didn't put my name on there. They just said EGM.
So,
Yeah, because we didn't put our name on previews, which is another really good thing.
I've had my name on a scam recently, credited as writer for the Chive. Yeah, at E3 this year, I saw a kickstarted handheld computer called the Smack Z, and they asked me for a quote after E3, and I was like, yeah, sure, what do I care? And they did it, and they made like a trailer, and then later I saw all these videos, if you search Smack Z, are just like what a hoax it is, and that it's a Kickstarter scam, and I'm like, cool.
Wow. And now your name is on it.
Yeah, whatever. What's my name worth?
Hacker Alias. Let's do this one. Hacker Alias Marks from Mark says, was recently listening to the Vita/Fin release era of the show. Everyone was excited except CJ because the autocorrect sucked on the Vita. Is that why I hated the Vita? Okay. Do you think we will ever get another Sony portable again? And what would make a great feature to make it better than the Switch?
We'll never get a Sony portable again.
We'll probably never get a Sony portable. What I think is their killer feature, and I've said this on the show for years, is remote play. And they have just never done very much with it. Like, I feel like that could have been the Switch before the Switch, right? Because I played a couple of games on the Vita remote play, Fallout 4 being one of them, and it was great when it worked, and it was absolute crap when it didn't work.
Right.
Like they needed to iron out those issues. I think they could have had a really good thing there. And I think that idea that you can play your home console games anywhere is, I mean, it's why the Switch is so interesting. And it's something that Sony could have had, right? I mean, they had the technology like right there. They had remote play going. And they just didn't do anything with it. They even had like PlayStation TV, the little Vita TV thing that did remote play. And they just they didn't improve it. And it's such a missed opportunity there, because I feel like that was like one of the great features that could have been like such a big thing if only there was more effort put into it. And I certainly appreciate all the people that did work on it enough to get me to be able to play Fallout 4 on Vita. But yeah, they could have done so much with that and didn't.
Okay. I never had a Vita, so I don't have much to say on what couldn't been improved. I borrowed one for a short 2-month period when I was working at Sony San Diego to play the future release of that year's baseball game, but I didn't have any other games to play, and I have nothing to compare it to. Yeah. But I like handhelds. I like my Switch. I wish it was a little more ergonomic sometimes, but no, I don't think Sony's ever gonna dip their toe in there again.
No, me neither. I think it'd be crazy.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this one from Hacker Alias Froyog Soft Serve, who says, my 14-year-old daughter is crying her way through Donkey Kong Country Returns. Had me wondering, what's the most frustrating game you couldn't put down?
Frustrating. Gosh.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've had any patience for frustrating games that I can't think of one.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There must have been some back in the day.
I generally, like, if a game is too frustrating for too long, I put it down and never come back.
Right, that's just it. Right. I don't stick it out anymore. I'm like, I give this a couple hours and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't think I have an answer.
Yeah, I'm stumped too.
No.
I mean, I can certainly list games I've given up on.
Yeah. Nope, I got nothing. Terrible choice, CJ.
All right. Well, then.
This is coming out of editing.
Should we pick a different one for final tweet? Let's pick a different one.
Okay.
All right. Let's wrap up
the hard ones.
The hard ones? You want me to do a hard one?
I said stop picking the hard ones.
Stop picking the hard ones. Okay. Let's do this one then from let's do this. Okay. Let's wrap it up with I'm going to redo that. All right. let's wrap it up with this one from Hacker Alias, Legend of Starfy, who says, what does it take for you to buy a new console? A game you want to play, backwards compatible games, or something else?
This is actually an interesting question because honestly, up until this generation, all it takes for me to buy a new console is that there's a new console.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is stupid, but it's
true.
It's how I've been since I had the money to buy my own consoles, and of course, then
stingier as well.
Right, and then like you know when I got into when we started Gaming Age, and then I got into the industry and everything like that, I felt it was it was important to have all the consoles. I mean, especially after I left EGM, it was important to have them because I was freelancing 100% of the time, and I needed to, I the more consoles I had access to, the more work I could get.
Yeah.
So I've kind of always been in that mindset. But I was actually thinking about this recently, where it's like, I don't know what's going to trigger buying the next round of consoles. I mean, for the Xbox One, I was excited about Forza, so I grabbed that right away, and I probably still would have grabbed that immediately based on that. The Switch, I honestly wasn't going to buy until we used the show funds.
That's right.
I would have eventually because there's enough on there now that it's worth owning.
Totally.
But I really think it's all about that one game for me that that I just got to play. But I don't know what it'll be like next round.
Sometimes it's one game. Sometimes it's just enough games.
Mm-hmm.
So for me on the Switch, it was enough games because I didn't jump on Zelda. But by the time Odyssey came out, I was like, okay, there's enough in the library to interest me, and I know I want to play Mario.
And I think backwards compatibility is going to be huge too.
Absolutely,
because I tend to take a long time to play my games, and if I know that if there's something that I really want to play on the new like the PlayStation 5, but I know I can still play the PlayStation 4 games I'm not finished with, and I don't need to have two consoles hooked up. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a new feature though. Like for the Xbox, there weren't really any games that I was crushing on, but I did want a 4K Blu-ray player, so I pulled the trigger.
That was the PS2 for so many people.
But that was the 4K Blu-ray, wasn't the
S?
The S, yeah, the 1S. Yeah, which is a really nice piece of hardware. I feel like that launch Xbox One, they shouldn't have bothered.
Oh, there were so many things wrong with that launch unit.
The 1S should have been the Xbox One they launched with. The 1X would have been a nice like mid-cycle update for sure. But yeah, for me, I'm still at the I want a new console because it's a new console type of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm still in that. Although I think the Switch, when you look at what that launched with Zelda, obviously that was the game that I wanted for that. But looking back on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, I can't even really think of like a launch game that I really would even want to go back to now and play.
I think with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, it's kind of a weird conversation because if you remember, that was right around the time that a lot of the industry was in the throes of like consoles dying.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't want to spend a lot of money on new games. And that's why you were seeing things like The Last of Us remastered, right? Or whatever it was.
You saw that, or you also saw a lot of really interesting indie games go to the PS4.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is like there wasn't. I mean, there were those games that were like the big AAA, system sellers, but it didn't seem like everybody was really on board. You were getting a lot of remakes being announced.
A lot of my hesitation in new consoles comes from my renewed interest in PC gaming, because so many games are cross-platform now that, like, even traditionally things that were only on PlayStation because they were very Japanese are coming out on PC.
Right.
Dragon
Quest,
Dark Souls. You're at Dragon Quest. What was the
Nier Automata?
Yeah. How did you know that was what I was trying to name?
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to come up with. Things like that are coming out, and then all the indie games are coming out on PC too, unless they're being funded by a publisher. And if that publisher is Microsoft, they're still coming out on PC. I played Cuphead on PC.
Yeah.
So a lot of my like extra funds that I wouldn't be investing in like upgrading my PC are going into different pieces of hardware that let me play those indie games on the go that are also PC based. Like there's also like a Smack Z, which I do not endorse.
I heard you endorse that.
No, I do not endorse that. But there's lots of very interesting pieces of hardware now where people are selling, you know, basically their version of a Vita for $200, $300, $400. Can play Steam games to a point. They run on maybe Android hardware or portable Intel hardware, and they're powerful enough to run basically the whole indie library.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of the next generation, the thing that I'm most interested in is, I mean, this generation, we've sort of had a taste of cross-platform play, especially when it comes to Xbox, but also Fortnite and, you know, several other like big games. I am hoping that that is a trend that continues over, so that when you're buying the next system, it'll be more about features than specific games. Like you'll still be able to play with your friends who select a different platform. Like that is becoming increasingly important in my mind for multiplayer games. Because of the thing that happened with Fallout 76, where Mike didn't have an Xbox. And, you know, if Fallout 76 was crossplay, it wouldn't have been a problem, but it's not. So, all right.
I played Sea of Thieves crossplay, so
there you go.
It does get used.
See? Now you've admitted you play Sea of Thieves. Now we're going to have to play.
I played Sea of Thieves.
We're going to have to play. You, me.
If you want to, my struggling level 2 scallywag following you around, I'll consider it.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1Podcast on the Twitters, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you will find Generation 16 episodes from Mr. Greg Stewart.
Hey, we got a new channel trailer released today.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Nice shiny new trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got pretty much all the research done for the new episode and all the footage captured. So now it's a matter of writing a script and piecing it all together.
Very cool.
Hopefully before the end of the year, but no promises because you know, this is kind of a busy time of year.
Okay. You'll find show notes on our website as well, and all the links to the stuff that we talked about in case you missed something. And we also have a Discord server where you, dear listener, can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by going to player1podcast.com or by visiting Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
You can also find us on places like Stitcher and Spotify. You can follow us on Facebook at /P1 Podcast, and of course on Twitter at P1 Podcast. And of course, while the show is free and will always be free, please consider helping us keep the lights on by supporting us over at patreon.com/P1 Podcast. $5 patrons get access to our after show every week, but this week, because we're not going to do one this week.
We're not going to do one, yeah.
Aw. Sorry. I had my trivia gloves on.
Sorry. Kind of have a Phil-centric one in the hopper, and Phil's not here, so.
Yeah.
Did somebody say Phil?
That's not bad.
Can you do a Jigglypuff impression?
Does Jigglypuff say anything besides Jigglypuff?
No. Jigglypuff sings. Jigglypuff has a song. All
right. So hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us this
week. Thank you for having me. It was my great pleasure. As I said on the Spider-Man show, I've been listening since episode 2 so many years ago.
Damn.
So I was very excited.
Don't say how old you were when you started listening.
Okay, I will forego that.
Did it on the spoiler cast.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, and I would love to come back again and do an after show.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and we'll absolutely have to have you back.
Tell our listeners where they can find you on the internet.
Sure, you can follow me at JerfSolo, and I host Chive Gaming every Tuesday night on twitch.tv/thechive.
There you go.
Cool.
CJ?
Yeah,
Thank you for hosting this week.
Thank you, Greg.
No problem. I'm here for you, buddy. And thanks to all our listeners for hanging out and listening to us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.